Welcome to Curito Connects. I'm your host, Jenn, and I've been conversing with friends around the world about life challenges and impactful moments. Conversations on this platform look at answering the questions how we overcome challenges and how our experiences shape who we are and the work we do today. I hope this work can inspire you on your own personal and individual journey. Let's dive right in. Hello, my guest today is Spanish chef and restaurant owner of Juju Spanish Gastrobar, Pablo Lorenzo Ten. Hi, Pablo, and welcome.
Hola, hello everyone.
Curito Connects. Oh gosh, where do I begin? Because I can't really remember exactly what year we met, but it was probably a decade ago, maybe.
Let's see.
When we used to party in Taipei together.
Yes, I mean I've been in Taiwan for 12 years almost, and I think we met like 10 years ago.
Yeah,
maybe?
about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Good times.
Good times.
I'm
Yes.
excited to have Pablo on Curito Connects today and have him share with us how from dreaming of becoming a movie director to living in Xian, China, teaching English, to falling in love and then moving to Taiwan, to then discovering his talent for cooking and opening a restaurant in a foreign city. That one should keep an open mind to embrace the opportunities that presents itself, as life is full of unexpected surprises. So without further ado, Pablo, I will let you introduce yourself.
Sounds like a lot to unpack.
Well, it is several decades-ish.
Yes.
Yes. But yeah, it's your journey to here is actually quite interesting, I think.
I mean it's definitely unpredictable, 20 years ago I had no idea that I would end up settling down in Taiwan, of all places. But yeah, I mean life just takes you to different directions sometimes, right?
Yes.
So yeah, where do you want me to start?
I think you can start with introducing to us your humble beginnings. Right, born and raised in Spain,
Yes.
in the beautiful island
Of Tenerife. Yes.
Yes.
So I was born in Tenerife. That's in the south of Spain. It's actually closer to Africa than Spain, very near Morocco. And it's a gorgeous island, very popular nowadays for tourists. Weather is good, beautiful place. And I lived there until I was 14. Then we relocated to Valencia. That's where most of my family come from. I studied high school there, and then I went to university in Madrid. And I studied media and communications because since I was a little kid, I always had this passion for movies. I loved movies. I would watch all of them.
Did you want to be you want to be an actor? You wanted to make movies? What about movies did you love so much that made you go into media and communication studies?
I don't know. I mean, I love watching movies like any kid, but then after growing up, like I developed this like real passion for other type of movies, right? So I would be the only kid, the only teenager during high school that would like go to this like original version cinemas, because in Spain it's mostly dubbed, and that's what people. Go to most of it. But I would like specifically choose this cinemas to go and watch the movies that I wanted, which were usually more, like arty.
Right.
Yeah, or independent and everything. So yeah, I just realized that was my passion, I guess. Well, at first, at least. And I mean, just being part of the whole movie making industry would have been good for me. But I wanted to be a filmmaker, like a movie director for a while. Yeah. So that's why I chose this career. I didn't go to like a filmmaking school, but I went to a public university, media and communication. It felt like it was close enough to what I wanted to do.
And did you end up touching that a little bit post college? Like, did you actually work in a company doing similar things?
Not really. I mean, I worked on TV. I did some small jobs here and there on TV. But during those years, my interests sort of shifted a little bit. Like, I mean, I still love movies today, and you know, I'm very passionate about it. If you want, we can do a whole podcast about movies.
Oh yes,
Because I would love that.
I know how what big of a movie you are. Yes, I remember.
But yeah, but no, it kind of shifted. I realized on those uni years that I wasn't really putting the work to become a filmmaker, or to, you know, I wasn't like building upon like what I thought I wanted to do, and my interest sort of shifted. I became very I don't know, almost obsessed about like exploring the world. You know, I developed. I mean, I've been very fortunate to get to travel a lot with my dad, who's an avid traveler from a very young age. So he always took me and my brother in these amazing trips. You know, so I think that seed was planted already, right? And yeah, it was during those years when I started, like when I became independent from my parents, that I was like, okay, I want to continue this thread. I really want to travel. I want to explore the world. So that's what I did. As soon as I graduated, I moved to London first, and yeah, that's when it all started.
That was your ticket to the rest of the world. So what did you end up doing that got you to travel further away from Europe?
Yeah, I went to London first because I'd been to London. I love the city, and I wanted to experience being there. So it was an interesting year. It was tough because I didn't have any money at the time, and you know how it is living in London with no money. It's it's not easy. So yeah, I was just doing all sorts of different jobs, and then I met a friend who told me about this thing called TEFL, teaching English as a foreign language. You know, which is a certificate that allow you to teach English globally, pretty much everywhere. And I didn't even need to be a native speaker. You know, as long as your English was good enough. And, so as soon as he told me about this, I'm like, yes, I think this is what I want to do now. You know, because that gave me the opportunity to travel, but not travel as a tourist. I didn't want to be a tourist. I wanted to really spend time in a country and get to know the culture and the people and everything. So yeah, I mean, becoming an English teacher will allow me to find a job and spend maybe like a year there. You know, I could decide how long I wanted to be in one place, nothing without, you know, growing roots that were too deep.
So where was your first location after you got your certification to teach?
I got a job like literally just like a couple weeks after getting my teaching certificate, and that was the Czech Republic. Very random, I know. I had been in Prague before. I loved the city, and you know, I just went online. I checked what was around, and I found this job there, and I got it, and I just moved there. Yeah,
Just like that.
Yeah.
And this was your early 20s.
yes, I must have been like 24.
Or like straight after college. And how long did you stay in Czech Republic for, and how was that experience for you?
I was there for 1 year, and it was a wonderful experience. Again, because I wasn't actually living in Prague, the main city. I was like
Outside of
like almost an hour away from Prague. It was a very small town, and that also gave me an insight on like what the culture really is, you know. And I love that too. Of course, I would go to Prague often, but just being in this little town allowed me to really experience the country the way I intended, you know. So yeah, I met great friends there. We did so many trips in Europe, within the Czech Republic. It was a great experience. So at that time I was like, yes, I think I made the right decision. You know, I mean, I love teaching. I liked teaching at the time. I knew that it wasn't like my ultimate dream job, right? But I still enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much, and it allowed me to
do what you wanted to do.
Yes.
And so how many other places did you live and travel to and teach before you ended up in Taiwan?
So I went to India for a while. I was there for
Also to teach.
6 months. Yes, it was an NGO. I was doing voluntary work. So yeah, I was teaching a little bit of English, but also just, you know, it was a very small NGO run by this Indian family in the south of India. And they just had this like children's hostel. They had like 35 children from very poor tribes around the area. So I was just there to just be with the kids and teach them and play activities, you know, plan activities with them, play games, just spend time with them, you know. So they would have some contact with people from other areas, you know, and other countries and stuff, and that was probably the best experience of my life. Yeah.
6 months in India, and this is like pre-internet, like pre-social media days, right? Ish, like just
Yes.
starting. So
Yeah.
you're kind of disconnected from
I didn't have a
that.
smartphone at the
You
time,
didn't
you
have
know.
a smartphone. How did you keep in touch with your family? Like,
Well, there's email.
okay,
There was email, and yeah, we had a phone. But yeah, not that I'm crazy about social media now, anyway. But but yeah, no, I was just like email. We did have Wi-Fi there. I remember.
oh, okay,
Yeah, I
okay,
mean, even though it was a very very isolated place, you know, it was this like country house in the middle of
right.
nowhere. But yeah, they did have internet.
So you got Czech Republic, India, then next stop.
I went back to Spain for a few months just until I figured out
Your
where
next
my
move.
next move would be. And then I moved to China. Yeah, found a job in China. And it was, again, the same as when I moved to Czech Republic. I hadn't planned about going to China. I just saw that at the time there were so many jobs,
Opportunity.
job opportunities as a teacher in China. And I'm like, China, well, why not? You know? Also thinking that, you know, learning Mandarin is probably going to be useful beyond just being an English teacher and everything. So I was like, okay, let's go to China.
So you went, and you also studied Mandarin while you were there teaching as well. Did you do both? Like you taught, and then you also traveled, and then you also studied
I
Mandarin.
didn't study full time, obviously. I just had like a tutor who would come like twice a week to my place and teach me. But just being immersed there, that was another thing. I chose to go to Xi'an because of the same reason I said before. You know, I didn't want to be in a big
Big
city. I
city,
didn't
yeah.
want to go to Shanghai or Beijing because I knew it would be more
Cosmopolitan.
multicultural and international and all. So Xi'an just seemed like the best place for what I wanted and it was because Xi'an, it's probably changed a lot now, but like 14 years ago when I went there, it just felt so like local and traditional and you know, it is the ancient capital of China after
Yeah.
all. So
And then you were there for how long?
I was there for 2 years, but I mainly used it as a base
Yeah.
because I traveled a
A
lot at the
lot
time.
within the
Yeah.
region.
Yeah, within the region, Southeast Asia. I covered a lot of Asian ground when I was there, and it was great. Yeah.
So then, what was the next transitional phase that happened in your life?
Okay, so that's a big one.
That's a big one. Yeah, because we went from growing up and having these dreams, but then wanting to travel. So then you found your outlet, which was getting the English teaching certification, which allowed you to then travel around the world, learn cultures, but also make an income so that you could do it.
Yes, you're explaining it perfectly.
And then at this point, my guess, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you weren't really thinking too much further in terms of how you wanted to, if we put in quotes, like shape your career. You just really enjoyed the ride of meeting lots of people, traveling, and then teaching English with the local community.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like during those years, I wasn't too concerned about where this career path would lead me or what I would do in the future. I was just like living it and feeling very fortunate to be able to do it. To be able to be in all these different places. But it got to a point like towards the last few months of my stay in China that I started to feel that I needed something else professionally. I felt like, yeah, this traveling is great, but the job I've sort of like reached
A plateau, like
where it's like, yeah, I think I would like to start figuring out what my next professional move would be because I want that to also fulfill me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it happened around the same time that I met who is now my husband, who is Taiwanese, and we met while I was still in Xi'an. And it was around the last 6 months that I spent in Xi'an. We met. He came to visit. We connected. We traveled together, and yeah, that obviously had a major impact in my decision to come in here.
Can we talk about your your relationship and dating life at that point in terms of, did you always know you were gay growing up? did you, in terms of that personal journey and growth for you?
Okay.
How did you navigate that? And then, telling your family, or when you were traveling, in terms of how you interacted with other people, were you always open about it, or did it take some time?
Okay. Of course, like I knew early on, but as most cases, it's not easy in the beginning, to get out there. And first you need to accept yourself and to, really admit to yourself that you are gay, which is a process, like for a lot of us, I started by considering myself bisexual, and that's what I would tell everyone in the beginning when I came out. And that was already quite a big step, right?
Yeah. And that was like college?
That was,
High
yes,
school?
my first year of college.
First year of
That's
college.
when I came out.
Be like, oh, that's when you came out.
That's when I came out.
So you didn't say you were bisexual then?
No. That's when I came out as a bisexual. It's already coming out ish, It's like half leg out of the closet.
But how did you like up to that point? What made how should I phrase this? Like, what made you come to realization that it's like, well, I actually like guys, but okay, I'll still say I will date women as well. So like that fine line between the two.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to see clearly because at the time you're confused by your own willingness to follow the straight path, right? If that makes any sense, it's like I think if society wouldn't lead you to be
this way,
straight, then it would become so clear from
the beginning.
For some people maybe they need more time, but I think for me, since I started having, I don't know, like sexual thoughts, and being a sexual being, I think it was always there. I just, try to push it away,
right?
Like we all do. Yeah, because it's just not the way it should be. It's weird, at first. So you try to push it away, and you try to, you go through this internal process of like forcing yourself to like the opposite sex, right? And I thought I did for a while. I was really good at lying to myself.
And stuff as well.
Yeah. I had some. No, I wouldn't say girlfriends. I dated some girls, yes, at the time. But it was high school, so.
Okay.
So yeah, no, it took me a while to get there. Of course, moving to Madrid, where I did my college, that changed everything because of course I moved to the capital city and I met people who were more open-minded, more akin to who I was. And that also helped with the transition. It was just so much easier to come out. And also, actually, I was very, very lucky my coming out years because at the same time that I came out, like almost like 40% of our university group hangout came out as well. Like it was like a
party.
Gay revolution. I came out and I was living with two roommates at the time. Eventually she turned out to be lesbian and he turned out to be gay. So we were all a rainbow flat at the end. And so many other friends. It just happened at the same time. I came out and then somebody else came out and somebody else came out and then it just became so normal. It was nice.
And in terms of your family, was that easy?
In terms of my family,
I know they're very supportive.
They're extremely supportive, and
was that hard for you in the beginning? Because again, it's like, do I?
Yeah, it took me a couple more years to tell them, and it's kind of silly because I knew they were going to be very supportive, but it was just like at the time I was living in Madrid. They were living, my dad in Tenerife, my mom in Valencia. So it was like a long distance relationship that I had with them. So every time I would get to meet them, I just didn't feel like having that talk,
that conversation.
And I knew that it wasn't going to be traumatic or anything, It was just like, I just didn't feel it. I just want to enjoy the time with them now that I'm here. But then, eventually after a couple of years, I told them and it was totally fine.
Did you do it in like a family dinner situation where everyone was there and you had to make an announcement?
And I was like, cling, 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 give a speech.
Happy holidays.
No.
Or was it through like a group text or something?
No, I just...
There was a moment there that...
So with my dad, if I remember correctly, I think it was when I was in Czech Republic. He came to visit.
Oh, okay.
Or no, or the last year of university. I don't remember right now. We had a
There
few
was
chats.
a moment, yeah.
But there was a moment where we were having dinner, and I just
Like a
told him.
father-son
Yeah, and I just told him. I mean, for my dad at first, like he was always very supportive. It was just when we didn't we spoke that time, and then we didn't speak about it for the next few years until I met Ben, my husband, and then when I told him, it's like, well, I'm in a relationship, and then there was a moment of like, oh wow, this is real, you know. You know, he was a little bit startled for a little while, but it was fine. It was fine. It was okay. My mom had no issues at all. In fact, I think it was my mom who came to me and be like, Pablo, don't you have something to tell me?
The mom's intuition.
Mother knows. Mother knows best.
And so in your time in China, because this is like early early 2000s when you were in China teaching, right? So
Yes.
what was that like being a gay guy living and working in China and a foreigner as well?
So that's the thing. Like after university, I
You embraced it.
completely,
Yeah,
100%. That was just
I'm a gay
you know,
guy.
yeah. Like
Yeah.
after the first year of university, I went from being bi to being fully gay. Oh, that sounds great. Fully gay. And then that was it. Then everyone knew. All my family knew, all my my friends knew, and then when I moved out of Spain, everything, yeah, it was just, you know, just me being a gay guy.
Being yourself.
Yeah. And then yeah, well, being in China, I met so many friends. I had a great time, but Xian at the time still pretty, you know, conservative with these things as well. So there wasn't much of like a
scene.
gay scene there.
Yeah.
So well, you know, I just had to navigate my way
navigate
through
your
that.
way.
But it was okay. Yeah, no, it was never an issue. And I think coming to Taiwan is when I, you know, fully found this like gay community. Yeah, because yeah, it's a good point actually that you made, because when you're traveling a lot, you don't always find this gay circle, this community, right? But coming to Taiwan, yeah, that's when I fully came.
I would have to say
full
that
circle.
Taiwan is a place where the gay community is very much embraced, I think.
Very much so.
And you can find pockets of places, you know, interests groups, and, you know, places where people gather to meet lots of people.
And it's amazing because, Taiwan has embraced this so much, of course, like 4 years ago with the gay marriage law.
Yes.
And everything. I mean, it's just amazing the progress that a country like Taiwan, you know, has had so many issues internationally. But it's just amazing to see how open it can become, you know. Just needs a little push from the right circles and from the right, you know, parties. But then when it for Taiwan, I think maybe they can be a little bit. At first, they can be a little bit difficult to understand the thing, but once you put it there, it becomes very easy for them to just welcome it, you know. And I think that's what happened with gay marriage, right? At first, there was some opposition, you know. We shouldn't forget that there was a referendum that went really badly, and so it was a little bit bumpy at first, but as soon as it happened, it just became part of society, and everyone accepted it, and we as gay people, like, we never feel like we should hide it in any way. So it's such an amazing thing.
Thank you for entertaining my diverge question for you.
Yeah.
But we'll come back to meeting Ben and choosing to leave China and move to Taiwan.
Yes.
For the relationship, essentially. But also to move to a new place.
Yes, I wanted to. I knew that, like, after 2 years, that was it for me in China. You know, like, not because I hated it, but it's just not the place that I wanted to be long term, right? And I actually, before meeting Ben, I was already thinking about Taiwan, because I heard really good things about Taiwan when I was there. I did a little bit of research, and I was like, yeah, this sounds like a nice place to move, and also it's a place where I can keep practicing my Mandarin, right? So I don't forget it completely. So yeah, then I met Ben. He was from Taiwan. We traveled, we connected, we started a relationship, and then yeah, I decided, okay, this is the push that I needed. Let's go to Taiwan, and here I am.
And here you are, a decade later. But at this point, did you continue to do your like teach English, or did you like where was the shift where you discovered, a non-trained chef turned chef restaurant
Yeah,
owner?
Taiwan was the biggest
and,
shift
and
in
again,
my whole
like
life.
in a foreign country.
It was just such a huge, my life just turned around in so many ways, professionally, but also personally, because I had never been in a relationship before this. Also, one thing I have to say, Ben was my first
Falling in
real
love.
relationship, yeah, really falling for a guy and just going straight to living with him because I moved here and I moved straight to his place. So that was like
That's a big
something
move.
that's a big move for me because especially because I've always been so independent, a little bit detached. But yeah, that was a big move. And then I arrived to Taiwan and I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. It was a bit like, okay, I know I don't want to teach anymore. I mean, I will eventually get a teaching job if I have to, just to sustain myself. But like, that's not what I want to do anymore. What else I'm going to do? I have no idea. I really had no idea what I was going to do here. So I was like, okay, let's see what happens. So I was just in the beginning, I was just cooking at home because that's another thing I haven't mentioned until now. But like, I love food, and since I was a kid, I've been so interested in cooking and learning how to cook. I remember just getting in the kitchen and asking my mom so many questions about how she was making the food and everything. Yeah, because I'm food obsessed. I love food, always loved it, and yeah, cooking was always something that I loved. While I was at university with my flatmates, I would always cook for them. I always throw dinner parties, cook with my family. It's always been in my life as my hobby, my other passion. But it was when I arrived to Taiwan that I started cooking for my husband and for my husband's friends. And every time they tried it, they were like very encouraging. They were like, wow, this is really good. And we don't have a lot of Spanish food in Taiwan. I mean, that was like 12 years ago,
Yeah,
right?
12 years ago. Yeah.
Now it's changed a bit. But yeah, at the time, it was all, I just heard so many encouraging things. So when you get encouraged, you become even more passionate about it, right? So I kept cooking and cooking and cooking, and I think my first cooking job was teaching
Oh.
teaching like cooking classes.
Oh, is that skills? Is that
Skills was the first one.
right? Yeah,
I think I did like a couple catering events with
different?
friends
Okay,
before,
yeah.
where I would just cook like just traditional Spanish food,
Yeah.
like some tapas, paella, that kind of thing. And then yeah, I got a part-time job in Skills, which is a cooking school. Yeah. So I was just cooking and teaching them the recipes. Yeah, and that was like my first
Like foot
little
in
foot in
the door.
the F&B world.
And
Yes.
then from there, were you kind of like, okay, I could see this be a thing, and you wanted to work or start your own restaurant at that point? Was that your goal?
It was interesting because I had never thought about cooking professionally ever before. I knew I loved it. I always loved cooking, but I never thought about it. And then the moment I started doing it, I'm like, duh, like this feels so right. And so yeah, so I started cooking in this cooking school. Then I would start doing like more and more catering jobs here and there, and then eventually I was working for two schools, and eventually I got a job as a consultant for a restaurant here, a Spanish restaurant. So I designed the menu for them. I was there to make their food more authentic, obviously. So yeah, I trained the team. I learned so much as well. That was my first proper job in a restaurant.
Yeah, like that was a hands-on, like to learn
Yes.
everything, but also be the brainchild behind their menu as well.
Yeah, I mean, the advantage that I had is that I knew about Spanish cuisine more than anyone because I'm from Spain, obviously there, right? So that was the my biggest contribution there. But I also learned a lot from them. I have to say, because Because I had never worked in a professional kitchen before. And then, while I was doing this job, I took a couple months to go back to Spain and intern in a Michelin restaurant. Yes.
And then do like culinary, like catch up on the culinary know-how and experience.
Just get in there and experience it firsthand, and that was a wonderful experience. But then, like everything in life, you just need to get on it, and there's so much that you can do that is self-taught, right? That you can. Luckily now we have all the tools and all this resources. You have internet, you have YouTube, you have so much around you. And I used those tools, and I just like the more I learned about it, the more passionate I became about cooking. Yeah.
And at what point were you like, oh yeah, I want my own place, versus like, okay, cool, like I will slowly get my way into being like a chef for a restaurant, Like in terms of that mindset that you had to kind of have that eventually now your own place. You are a chef and you are running your own restaurant. And was that difficult or easy? Like, because you have seen yourself do this back in Spain, versus doing it here in Taiwan, where again, as a foreigner, to like set up shop and hire and learn the kinks behind all of that. And like you said, without really prior experience before those few years that you were here doing that.
Yeah, well, first, I think the idea of opening my own place happened when I was working as a consultant for this restaurant. I also had some issues with the owner of that restaurant, with my boss at the time. We were friends, but that friendship ended quite badly, And that was challenging at the time. But then also that was the push, for me to be like, I just want my own place, I want my own place. I want to run it, and I want to learn how to run it. And then the rest, it just happened. You just learn as you go. And of course, like if you're gonna open a business in a foreign country with a foreign language, you need help. And I got obviously a lot of help from my husband, who is my partner also in the business. And of course, I wouldn't have been able to do it without him. And all the people who also supported us, because we have a bunch of investors, some family members as well as investors who helped us put it together. And then just like working every day and learning every day how this should be done. It just happens. Yeah. And
it just happens.
It happens because you get into the rhythm of it, and there's challenges, of course. We had a lot of issues, for example, just finding the right location. It took us like almost a year.
Yeah.
And we wanted to open, we had a deadline, we wanted to open at a certain time. We had to scratch that and wait for the next year because we just couldn't find the right place. Then we had a lot of issues with the designer, with the whole renovation. It took much longer than we intended. Yeah, but, just go through it. And eventually it came through.
Yeah, it sounds like that's kind of your theme too, right? Because it's always that mindset of just being open-minded to what presents itself to you, and then you just go with the flow of just going with what's in front of you, and then whatever next thing approaches, you just deal with it. Keep going, keep going.
Yeah, and then some things, I don't believe that things happen for a reason, but some things just need to happen.
Do they not?
I don't know. I don't know if I believe in fate or that, but I don't know. Things happen, and then you just embrace them. And I don't know if it's fate or what it is, but the thing is that because it was taking us so long to find the right space, we did a pop-up in Ximen, and that didn't work so well. That was we ran through so many issues. It was a bit of a disaster at first. But I think, in hindsight, like I'm very happy that happened. So all the issues, all the problems, all the mistakes were made there before we opened the actual place, right?
Yeah, which is important.
And then when we opened the restaurant, Juju, like it just, those problems were already, we had gone through them and we knew how to
handle
yeah.
it. What is Juju a Spanish name?
No, not really. If we were pronouncing it like in Spaniard, it would be Juju, because it's Juju.
Correct.
But no, it's the name of my cat, my daughter, Juju. Yes.
I think you get asked that question a lot, don't you?
Yes, all the time. Yeah. And they say, so is he Juju or Juju? Those who know a little bit of Spanish, yeah.
And they're like, what's the connection there?
It's
so
Juju.
Juju has now been running for
almost 6 years.
6 years.
It's gonna be
right?
6 years this summer.
And you have any other plans to open a second restaurant?
Yes, not a second restaurant, but we do have a plan, a project for the future.
For
the
foreseeable future.
Yeah, it's gonna be. Yeah, I don't want to give away too much because it's still in the early stages, but there's gonna be some more.
Watch the space. Watch
something else coming up.
Okay.
Yes.
And so before we wrap up, because we're running short on time, and I want to thank you for sharing your journey with us today. I want to ask, because usually I ask my guests these 3 questions before we finish. So one is, what keeps you grounded? The second one is, what 2 cent would you tell those listening to this episode who resonate with your storyline? Any 2 cent recommendation or suggestions. If you don't have one to say, sometimes I like to ask, what would you tell your younger self what you know now?
Oof.
And then the third
These
one,
are tough questions. I wish you had told me in advance so I could prepare.
And then the third one is, what... Okay, so you're a movie buff, so maybe it'll be movies, but what resources have you been approached with that has helped you along the way? When you get stuck with certain things, or some of the frustrating times that you've experienced, whether what, like you mentioned, like with the restaurant openings and restaurant experiences, or previously like in different marketplaces you've been in, you might have experienced different cultural things, whatnot, that has helped you. So maybe it was a book you read that you felt like, oh, this book has been very, insightful, and it helped you open your viewpoint, and change perspective. Or it could be a movie, because like you said, you watch a lot of movies, and sometimes movies does that for people too, right? You watch a film and you go, oh wow, like that was really powerful, that messaging, or that I never thought of it in this way. Or a podcast, if you listen to podcasts. So, and that's the resource section is more like, so as if you encounter other people in a conversation, and they're sharing with you like their struggles or or something that's really bothering them, and you can be like, oh, you should just watch this film, like it'll change your perspective, kind of thing. Yeah. So these are the 3 questions.
Whew. Okay. What keeps me grounded?
Juju.
I rarely tell this to him, but obviously my husband keeps me a bit grounded.
Shout out to Ben.
Yes, don't tell him that I said this. No, I mean he's a different generation, He's an older person, and sometimes when I get a little bit too, out there, and yeah, because I want to, I just.
So much.
Yeah, I want to do so many things at the same time, and I'm always like thinking about the next move and everything. So yeah, it's good to have someone who is in a different stage of their life, and it's a little bit more settled and grounded. So yeah, he does keep me a bit grounded, I guess. Yes. And Juju, yes, and my cat, and my business, obviously. Yeah. So yeah, that's question number 1. How about question number 2?
Like, what 2 cent would you tell listeners who are listening to this episode as like a, Pablo's 2 cent life recommendation? Or, what would you tell your younger self what you know now?
I guess just like, don't get stuck in something that you thought your life would be, don't get stuck in like, oh no, but this is what I envision for myself, and this is how it should be. And if it's not that, then I'm going to be a failure, or it's, or I'm going to be dissatisfied about it. No, I think life can bring you so much joy and so much happiness in so many different ways that you would have never expected, you know. So I think that's the thing, you know. And also myself, like in the beginning, I would get stuck thinking like, should I have pursued my filmmaker career, or should I've, you know, we go through those moments sometimes, right, where we not regret, but we think like, what if I had taken that other path, you know?
Yeah.
And I went through that for a little while, but not anymore, you know, not anymore.
That's
for many,
true.
many years. It's like, well, I just don't know what would have happened if I had taken that other path. But I know that I'm very happy that eventually led me this way. So that's the thing. Yeah, don't get too stuck with some preconceived idea of what your life should be.
That's very true.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And the last one, the resource one. And it could be books, it could be movies, it could be, you know, other things that you've come across that you found very helpful for your own personal growth, or
I cannot think of like specific work, like a movie or I mean, there is a movie that really opened my eyes a lot. It's a Spanish movie called Tesis, because at the time I was just watching like mainstream block. No, I was just watching the typical blockbusters and everything. I was a kid, but this movie is a Spanish movie that it just opened my eyes to independent cinema, you know. And then I went through this like huge switch where I was like, I went from just being like a regular moviegoer to just like indie films. I just wanted to watch everything, you know. So I started digging deeper on like different countries, different directors, different styles, everything. It was just this particular Spanish movie that just like made me, you know, get so passionate about the movies and everything. Okay. So yeah, but I don't know. I wouldn't recommend this movie to everyone because it's just not. It's not a life-changing experience to watch this movie. It just did it for me.
But it opened your eyes to independent films.
Yeah, and to, in a way, like just like exploring different things, you know, exploring just like different sides of things, you know. Yeah, that's it. But other than that, I don't know. I will have to think about that one because there's just like so many things that have inspired me along the years.
You can, I'll give you some time before this episode is published, and you can give me a few titles that we can put in the episode resources. So I'll put this, you know, Juju's social media and yours and the restaurant website. So if people are in town in Taipei and they want to have some authentic Spanish cuisine, they can stop by the restaurant.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, you guys are welcome. Yes.
Was there anything else you wanted to add before we close off and say farewell today?
Well, I just want to thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been fun. It's been super fun. I mean, it's always fun to hang out with you, I have to say. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm really excited we got to record today too, because we've been talking about it for a while. So we finally did it. So
yes, finally did it. It was hard to get our schedules matched, but yeah, I'm very happy we did it. Thank you again for having me.
No, thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Adios. Bye.
That's all we have time for today. Thank you for listening to Curito Connects. For more Connects content, collaborations, and discoveries set to inspire you on your own individual journey, please head to our website at www.curito.co. Until next time, stay inspired, and thank you for joining us at Curito Connects.